Bun JS is a new JavaScript runtime that claims to be faster and provide a better developer experience than node.js. It has a bunch of built-in features for the most common use cases, such as building an HTTP or WebSocket server, reading and writing files. It has test runner, it has bundler, and it has its own package manager that is much faster than Yarn or PNPM. And it even supports Typescript and JSX out of the box. Bun JS is compatible with Node and NPM, so you could migrate your projects in no time with minimal changes. But it doesn't mean you should do it immediately. Bun is a new project and it has bugs and some missing parts, so don't rush to switch to it just now. But I think it looks promising and worth trying, even on this early stage. Also note that only Bun runtime is available for Windows. All other features such as bundler, test runner and package manager, they will not work on Windows. But honestly, who cares? Most of us who are using enterprise Windows laptops run everything under WSL anyway, and everything works perfectly fine there.
Let's go and try it out. First, let's install Bun on our local machine. So in the documentation there is an installation guide, and I'm on Mac, so I will use these instructions, and there are different ways to install Bun. You can use it just like you can install just with curl, and you can use good old npm or homebrew, or you can even install it in Docker or Proto. So I will use homebrew because I already have it and I use it for other packages. So let's just go and install. Now you have Bun installed on your local machine, and what you can do to start your project from scratch, you can just run script bun init. It is pretty the same as yarn init or npm init, so it will ask you some questions and create a package.json file. We can just answer these questions and we get our package.json, readme, and by default it creates tsconfig JSON, because now in modern JavaScript world basically everyone uses TypeScript anyway. There is another interesting feature that Bun has. It is the way how we can clone repositories using Bun. In documentation under the templates you can find this bun create command. You can create a project from template if you have your local template, or you can just create it from the GitHub, and it is just like an alternative way of cloning a repo from GitHub. So let's try and clone something. I'll just go to the GitHub. Let's just go to my repositories, and I have this playwright tutorial that I was recently recording. So if I want to clone it using Bun, I can just do Bun create and then name and the folder. In case if you're running it just like that without a name, it will create a folder with the name of the repo, but you can also name it whatever you want. Like, I don't know, if I run it like that, it is created this folder. So now I don't really need it and I will just delete it. So the main benefit of Bun is speed of compilation, speed of development, speed of installing modules. Let's try and create a React application here using Bun. So the command we use for it is bun create React. That's what documentation says. So let's try. But unfortunately it doesn't work and I see this strange error. And when we see strange errors, what we usually do, we go and Google it.
And from my Googling, what I figured out is that on Bun GitHub, there is an issue, generalized issues with bun create command. And in this issue, a bunch of people are complaining about the same error. So it seems that the package that is responsible for creating a React app is broken or abandoned, besides the fact that it is mentioned in official documentation. So let's scroll down and see. These people advise us to use create React app. Let's try and see, let's try to measure how much time will take creating a React app. So I'm going to use terminal utility time to see how much time it takes, and then I will type my command bun create React app. Oh, and of course I have to specify directory. And I cleaned all the cache, both bun and npm, so it is downloading all the libraries from scratch. So it takes quite a lot of time, to be honest. Yeah, actually I can just open the another tab and install React Create App with Yarn here. So I'm gonna run this command and I'll add a time in front of it again to measure. So here it is done. Here it took 1 minute and 37 seconds, and in Bun Create React App took 1 minute and 39. That is even longer. So there is no benefit to use it with Create React App. But again, in this GitHub issue, they say that if you want to get the benefit of using Bun, you should create it with this utility white or width, I don't know. So let's try. So if we run bun create white, and we will select React with the TypeScript, and then we gonna go to white project and run bun install, and again we'll add time here. Well, now it took 10 seconds, and if we just for the experiment we'll go and create test yarn, and we again select React with the TypeScript, and then go to test yarn project and run yarn install. So here it took 23 seconds when with Bun it took just 10 seconds. So here we can confirm that it is faster, but not in the case with Create React App. But anyway, honestly, Create React App is not recommended to use in production projects, so I don't really think you need it. You can use these white, width, whatever, for your app scaffolding, and it's totally fine. So here, yes, we can say that Bun is faster. A revolutionary feature that Bun introduces is compatibility of different module resolutions. It means that we can use require and import in one project or even in one file. So for example, let's see how we're gonna do it. We can create a new folder. I call it Express, and let's say we are going there, and we want to initialize our project. So we get our small project, and let's say I want to add Express here, and it is added. And now if I want to go to index.js and I want to import Express from Express, and yeah, of course it wants types as well. And so let's say I'm going to make a simple Express server, and I'm copy pasting some code here, and now if I want to run it, it's just running here on the port undefined because we get it from our environment that is undefined. Let's say we want to import our package.env, so let's just install it, and you see how fast it installed it. It's amazing. So now if I want, I can do it this way. I can do .env equal require, and the funny thing is that it's gonna work. Now if I go and create an env with our port at equal to 8000, and then we run it again, you see it works. It doesn't complain about these two different types of import, and that's I think that is something that developers will highly appreciate, to stop all these conflicts between different module imports, because Node.js is really not great about it. But as we started to speak about servers, honestly, we don't really need an express here for this case, because if you want to run a simple web server, Bun already has this functionality built in, and we can go and check it in the documentation how we're supposed to do that. So on Bun website there is a collection of code examples where you can find many useful things. So let's see how can we start our HTTP server. So this is the code for HTTP server. Here we can just copy paste it instead of all these express and stuff, and let's just remove it here. We only will leave our port and then paste this code, and let's restart it. And you see it is the same. We are again having our server running, and we don't need any extra modules from wherever. I'm actually curious if Bun has built-in functionality for environment variables too. Yeah, Bun has built-in functionality for reading .env files, so it is automatically loads all .env files, and first it will try to access these .env local, then it will try to access node.env variables, and at the very last, it will check it in .env. So basically we can just delete all this code about .env, and all we need is just bun env port. So let's restart it and try. Yeah, it is getting our variable from .env, and it is showing it again. It's running a server on it. So that's amazing. And as we started to talk about other bonuses of Bun, it also has a lot of cool stuff here in the documentation. But what I find especially useful for myself is that we can read and write files very easy now. So here, reading a file, you just need to pass the file path, and you just read it, that's it. And it's gonna be faster than if you would do it with file system in Node.js. We can even test it. Let's copy this code and let's replace this server with our code, and let's say we are reading our package JSON, and we are going to console log let's say JSON stringify contents. So this will print them out in the beautiful way. And now if you want to do that, we have to stop our process and restart it. And you see it printed out our package.json file, and let's do it with the time. Just to see how fast it reads it. It took us 0.021. And if we do the same, let's just create another file. Let's call it node.js. And here we will read the files in the node.js way. So what do we need for that? We need to import import read file sync from filesystem, and then I guess we just need contents that will and let's just copy this path to make sure it's all the same, and we want to print it after all. So let's try to do that and compare. Now we're going to just run node.js. Okay, first we need to transpile it. So this is what I forgot about. Okay, let's change it to JavaScript. I don't really want to bother and run it as a TypeScript now. That's the first problem, and let's run it now. JS, and let's run it with the time. Oh, that's quite a big difference. You see, it is at least 0.1, when if we run it with Bun again, it is like at least 10 times faster, sometimes 10, sometimes 5. So yeah, this is true, it reads file faster, and you don't need to do anything to compile TypeScript. You can write files in TypeScript and you can run it immediately without compilation. That's amazing. What else I want to mention? Bun supports browser APIs out of the box as well. So for example, if you want to use fetch, you don't need to install any special modules or polyfills like it was in Node.js, when if you want just to fetch something, you need to install node-fetch, or you need to install Axios and do some customization. So let's try to do it in our index.js. Let's delete the code for the file, and let's do it like URL, and I don't know, let's say google.com. And then so this is a simple code just to demonstrate you that you don't need to do anything to fetch. So let's run it again. Okay, it says it's invalid, probably because I need to add HTTPS here. And yeah, we got our response. We got our headers and stuff and everything. And that's amazing. Look how minimalistic this code is. And there is also a bunch of useful utilities here. If you go to guides and if you go to utilities, you see we can hash a password, escape an HTML string, and like get a bunch of stuff. What I find useful is these deep equals that we can do very easily now without any external libraries such as like underscore or lodash or whatever that we usually use, and it is also gonna be extremely fast. So let's try this example. Let's copy it and let's just run it. And let's just console log it, just to see that something is going on. So we're gonna run it here with time bun index ts. And you see it compare these two arrays. They're relatively small and it took like 0.079. And again, if you go to our node and let's say we want to do deep equal, we can do it with JSON stringify or we can do it with Lodash. So if I want to do it with Lodash, let's say I add bun add Lodash and imagine I import it, I also delete it, and then let's copy this code and let's do, instead of this bun deep equals, we will use our Lodash is equal, and let's run it again. This time we want to run node, and it's okay, it is complaining about this one that I copied. Okay, from, let's change it. Look, this is already annoying that you have to change it all the time. And it took 1 second, and again to compare it with bun, it takes much faster. And there are other useful utilities here. You can go and check them out. And what else I want to show you is that we actually have not just like a compiler and runtime for our JavaScript and Typescript, we also have a bundler. So if we go here to the top, to the docs, and let's search for bundler. So we can skip Webpack, and you see there is a comparison of the speed with a 3JS benchmark. So Bun is like, I don't know how many times faster than Webpack. You can try it yourself. I'm not going to try it now. I just want to mention this possibility to use it instead of all these bundlers. And it is pretty simple to set up, at least for the basic use cases. If you want to do something more complicated, then I don't know, you should try, and you can try and write it down in the comments below. How do you find your experience with Bun bundler? And yeah, another cool thing here is that we also have not just bundler. Oh, you see how many different settings it has. So we also have a test runner. So you can just use it instead of your jest or whatever test runner you use to run your tests. And again, it's gonna be much faster. I don't know if they have, yeah, they have a performance benchmark here. So it has also a bunch of stuff, DOM testing, snapshots. I think the syntax is pretty much the same as the one that we got used to with Jest. So it's too much snapshots, it is like mocks. It doesn't look confusing at all. It is very similar to Jest. And again, you can try it yourself and say what you think. And what else Bun can do for us is it can understand JSX syntax even if you're not using React. So if you go and search for JSX, you can see that you can just take a React component and it will be transpiled into anything you want. It can be transpiled in React, or it can just stay as it is. And what this allows us to do is to create our server-side rendering with Bun. And you see, you can even use the stream to return the component, and it is very good for the SSR optimization with React 18. So just to summarize, Bun has great potential to replace not just Node.js, but also Yarn, Jest, Webpack, and a bunch of other small utilities that you would install separately for your projects. And all this stuff will run faster. And last but not least, it has cute logo and name. That's important as well. Of course, it's just the very beginning of the project, and there are a bunch of bugs and missing parts, but developers are working on it, and I'm sure it has great future. So I'm gonna keep an eye on Bun and see what happens. I hope this video was useful for you, so don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe on my channel.